Legends of the Dark Knight, issue 4. I didn't even know that there was a new Legends of the Dark Knight. This was one of those ones where I was talking about when I got those thick pack of comics from Ollie's for $6, which is not a bad deal. I really enjoyed this. I was reluctant because, as we've seen with the track record of most modern comics, it's really hit or miss. So I was very thankful that this was fun. Let's dive into it. This is one of those ones, if you are a fan of murder mysteries, this is definitely up your alley. This is called Haunted. Stephanie Phillips, writer, Max Dunbar, artist, Tamra Bonvillain doing the colors, Troy Peteri doing the letters, and then there's everyone else working on the book. And of course, Batman was created by Bill Finger with Bob Kane. And so right off the bat, we get this very noir Gotham City 1910 with the very nice Victorian text. Rain falling just really sets that atmosphere. We see a gentleman come down the stairs, heavy shadows. Angelina, I asked you to make tea an hour ago. Blasted woman. Angelina. And now, we've talked about this in the comments and whatnot, that a lot of comics feel like the way that it's scripted, it feels like it's set for like a Netflix show. I can kind of see that here, but when you're going for that very old school murder mystery noir feeling, you have to have that crack of lightning with just the long Nosferatu style expressionism shadows lurking, coming for this guy. Where are, huh? And I love how just very subtly, Charles Cobblepot. Please no, whatever you want, just guilty. No. Now, my personal opinion, I wish that this would have stayed in the 1910s. If you all haven't read, oh god, I'm going to say this guy's name, Jimmy Palmiotti. I always brutalize his name, but his all-star western, where it was Jonah Hex and Amadeus Arkham. The first half of the run is great. It got a little silly when they started doing time traveling, but the first few volumes of the collected trade that I read, it was very much in this vein, and I loved it. Now we go back to Gotham Day Present, and Bruce, we're going to call him Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne is at a charity auction. I don't need any of this junk, Alfred. We are not here for the junk, Master Bruce. We are here to support the Gotham Historical Foundation. Need I remind you that this was your family's charity? Now there's this box, which is kind of the crux of the whole arc here. And as he's getting ready to put it up on the auction block, 50,000. Excuse me? 50,000 for the box. Now, one thing that I will say, even though I love 99.9% of all the original Batman the Animated Series voice actors, I don't remember a lot of their names, so don't ask me to even try to go there. But if you all have watched The Batman, which came out a little while later, it was a little silly at first. I'm glad they got a little more grounded with it. But I really loved the voice of the Penguin from that era. He just kind of had this nasally thing, and it kind of reminded me of Danny DeVito and just had a very Penguin-esque feel about it. So whenever I read Batman now, that's the Penguin that I hear in my head, is that nasally little squatty guy. And it turns into a bidding war between Bruce and Cobblepot. He goes, "You don't want to do this, Mr. Wayne." What can I say? Gotham City's history is priceless, Mr. Cobblepot. So Bruce gets the box. And I love how Alfred's like, $500,000, sir. Money well spent to support the Gotham Historical Foundation. Need I remind you that it was my family's charity. Sarcasm is the language of the ill-mannered Master Bruce. And I just love that they made that one little scene here just to kind of set up the relationship between Bruce and Alfred, just the way that they always are. And he goes, this is a piece of Gotham's history, just not the pleasant kind. It says the Gotham Gazette, West End Wraith strikes again. I'm afraid I'm not familiar with the West End Wraith, sir. It's an old Gotham legend. 1900s businessmen and politicians and some of the very men who helped build the city were murdered in their homes. So Bruce realizes that the killer, this box contained the contents of the killer, and that's why Cobblepot wanted it. And that's why the next beat in the story is the Bat computer says, what is it? What does it say? It says, my brain's having a brain fart. Intruder alert, multiple heat signatures at estate perimeter. And so I like how Bruce says, keep him occupied, Alfred. What are you going to do, sir? He brings up this 3D image of 1910 Gotham. I'm going to find a ghost. And while they're being invaded by Cobblepot in his game, I like how Alfred is still able to say, I wish you'd belt model trains like the other boys. And so everyone's trying to break in. And then all of a sudden, the Batman, boss didn't say anything about Batman. And I love it's Alfred behind the seat. It ain't working. That's because it's bulletproof, simpletons. And he just goes to town on these hoodlums. It's such a great little moment. And then we get into the murder mystery. Bruce starts to pick up on all the little clues that happened after Cobblepot's murder back in 1910. The glasses. These were in the box we got from the auction. But these are in the crime scene photos after Cobblepot was found murdered. The killer came back for them. And Alfred's just having a blast because he even says, now I see why Master Bruce loves this car. But he's still able to take on all these hoodlums and still talk to Bruce. Why risk being seen just for a trophy? Maybe it wasn't a risk. Who could move around these houses without being seen? We get another one of those wisps of the ghost. I see you. And so Bruce is literally chasing the proverbial ghost. And so we kind of have that A and B plot. Alfred's trying to hold down the Batcave while Bruce is in this sort of like VR environment. And it's such an excellent little way that they tie both of these stories together because we find out obviously who the identity of the killer is. Bruce says 5 men killed, 5 men who helped build this city. But they weren't who we thought they were they? They had a secret that got them killed. And when Bruce kind of comes to this really haunting realization, and I don't want to give away any more of the story, guys. It's just a one shot. It's literally, you could think of this as a one shot. And I got to say that in the time of comic books where you have to read this story to get the rest of the story from this story, and to read this issue to get this issue, don't get me wrong, I love some, crossovers and events. It could be fun. But when it's constant, it feels like it dilutes the individual character. And so this particular issue is self-contained. You find out who the killer is, and it ends on a very somber note with a nice real-world message without it feeling like it's punching you in the face. It all serves the story. And I just love that it has, that detective noir as well as kind of this very ghost story feel, like locked haunted house. So Legends of the Dark Knight issue 4, my friends, highly recommended if you are a fan of these type of stories. So if you've enjoyed what you've seen, please first and foremost support your local comic shop or where does it get your action figures and comics, and grab this issue and the rest of this Legends of the Dark Knight. It looks relatively interesting. I want to see if I can find some more of it. If you've enjoyed this review, really would appreciate if you take a moment, like, share, and subscribe. Helps the channel more than you could possibly know. And if you don't mind hitting that fancy little Wraith bell next subscribe, that way as I get to upload content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel. And I love talking with y'all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments or the socials, which I'll make sure that the links down in the description. So with all that said, hope y'all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, everyone.